to the resources that K-State provides to know how to help direct them if they're struggling in any kind of way. So RJ and I are going to help facilitate, and I hope any of the questions on the purple sheet, like on the program, are up for grabs, but I really want this to be an opportunity to have you all just ask questions back and forth. So first, let's start. Rhett, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what your major is, and what year you are.
My name is Rhett Pierce. I'm a third-year junior in mechanical engineering with a minor in leadership studies.
And you're from?
Me. I'm from DeSoto, Kansas, which for those of you who aren't from Kansas, you might know where Lawrence is, because it's really close to Lawrence.
Awesome. My name is Megan Zeman. I am a super senior doing a victory lap in education with minors in English literature and leadership studies. I am from Hayes, Kansas, which is not as far west as Goodland, but west of here, yeah.
Hi, I'm Cedric Barnes. I'm third year. I'm currently open option trying to switch to social sciences from mechanical engineering. A complete life change. I'm from Salisbury, Maryland. Also have a minor in leadership studies as well. Yeah, I'm far from home. I love it here though.
Hi, I'm Gracie Higley. I'm from Atwood, Kansas, so I'm literally an hour from Goodland, so I understand that western side. I am an animal science major, and I have a minor in leadership.
Hi, I'm Tori Burkhart from Strong City, Kansas. For those of you that don't know, it's a very small town about an hour directly south of here by Emporia. So someone was from Emporia State, right? I don't know. But I'm studying advertising and then minoring in nonprofit leadership studies.
I'm Angel. I'm a freshman. I'm majoring in accounting and I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. It's about 2.5 hours away from here.
And Angel, right, she's been on campus, like many of you, for 4 weeks, and so she's in one of my CAT community classes, and I was like, hey, Angel, you want to be on a student panel? And she's like, where's the union? Like, we're really happy that she's up here. And actually, yeah, I have one other freshman that is also supposed to join us. That's what the 7th chair is for, so I'm hoping Oshonda finds us, and if she doesn't, then I also know she probably had a hard time navigating getting here. Okay, so, and RJ, anything you want to add about the Academic Achievement Center so far?
I can. Do you want a little spiel before we get started, or do you want me to do that at the end?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So I can tell you all a little bit about the Academic Achievement Center. We're located within the University Success Center, so that's the name for Holton Hall on campus that has a lot of different offices that support student success in any way that looks like on campus, whether that be academically through what we do in the Academic Achievement Center, maybe emotionally, personally. We have the Office of Student Life, the Office of First Gen students, the TRIO programs. A lot of different resources for students are located under the umbrella of the University Success Center. Specifically in the Academic Achievement Center, we have programs like academic coaching, tutoring, scholar services, so programs for Casey scholars, Kaufman scholars. You've probably become more and more familiar with programs like that in the Office of First Generation Students. And we also partner heavily with K-State First, which is the office on campus that provides a lot of different CAT communities, first-year seminars, opportunities for first-year student success. And we partner with them to offer different coursework as well to help orient students to university life and the expectations and navigating the new academic system that they're in. And so a couple of the different resources that are probably most helpful for you all to know about are our tutoring and our academic coaching. So academic coaching, we have a staff of about 5 or 6 full-time staff members here at K-State that do one-on-one support for students. And so students can meet with an academic coach and talk through what are some goals that you have or what's a challenge that you're having right now. Oftentimes, if you're new to K-State or new to college in general, maybe your high school preparation and experience asked you to study differently than your current classes are, or you have a new class that's asking you to do a different type of learning or assessed in different ways. And so an academic coach can sit with a student and figure out what skills do we need to develop to help you reach whatever the goals that you have in front of you are. Or if you don't know your goals, how can we help you develop that so you can reach the academic success level kind of that you're hoping for. It's holistic, so things like belonging at K-State and feeling that and feeling a sense of community are also topics that academic coaches can discuss with students to help them find and have the experience that they're wanting to have here and impact their academic success. Tutoring at K-State, these are all free resources, both academic coaching and tutoring. Tutoring at K-State we use peer tutors. We have a center on campus in Holtz Hall, but also locations in the residential halls and different places on campus, usually in the libraries as well when that opens back up. And so a lot of different subjects, really easy to get connected both to coaching and tutoring. Our website has a lot of different links where students can just click, find a class that they're in that they need maybe some tutoring support. That's a lot more about course content, helping think through different concepts or what's going on in the class, having a peer tutor explain it a little bit differently in small groups. And so a lot of different ways that students can be supported through our office. Really easy to get connected. And so for you, if you just visit our website, there's a way that you could refer a student to academic coaching, where a coach could reach out to a student that you think might benefit from some of that one-on-one support, or an easy way to get them connected to tutoring through our online platform as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of the brief rundown. I'm happy to come and visit classes. We visit all classes to let students know about our resources, have workshops throughout the year, just a lot of different ways for students to find a way for them to develop their skills and critical thinking and things that they need to be successful while they're here. Is that helpful? Okay.
Okay, so questions.
So one of the things, as someone who's not from academia before this, one of the things I'm most nervous about is grading. And so I would love to just hear any advice you would like to give in terms of someone grading your, like, I care more about the content, right? So that stuff terrifies me.
I would say the biggest thing is, as long as there isn't a gotcha at the end of the semester, I would say be upfront with your students at every juncture to let them know their progress and let them know what they're doing, because the worst thing is to think that you're doing well in a class and then at the end realize that you got a D or something and you don't know where that came from, and then you feel like hurt and betrayed and sad. So don't let there be a gotcha at the end.
I actually can speak from that personally. I had a class, two-part class, engineering physics 1 and 2, and they do it grades really weird. They don't put any grades in the grade book until halfway through the semester and at the end of the semester. So while navigating through that course, the only grades actually put in were the test grades, and so I only had my test average to go off of, which was usually a lot lower than my actual score because, you know, homework grades and everything like that got pulled it up. And something to add, I think the worst part for me is when I go through a problem, and you know, in engineering and math and science fields it's a little different because you can do everything right and then end up with the wrong answer just because you like, which is, well, that's the same everywhere. But so I guess it's the worst feeling ever when you go through a problem and you end up with like a negative sign wrong or just one little misstep, and you get no points for it. So as a student, I really appreciate partial credit, you know, just recognition of you know, you understand the material, you just had a small little mistake that was trivial.
Unless you're building bridges. And moving from high school to college, that's a step. I know all of you can go, yes, that's a step. And college isn't high school, you know, and you really don't want it to be. I jumped in. I can't help myself. I'm such a teacher. I just can't help it.
Well, can I ask a follow-up to that, like about grading? So when you think about grading, you get a grade, right? But what kind of feedback have you felt like as students has been most helpful for your learning?
Yeah, I really appreciate constructive feedback that kind of ask questions. Like even if you may get a good grade on something, I appreciate having questions that kind of deepen your learning about your reflection on something. For example, in leadership courses, I have been really appreciative to my professors because a lot of them say, okay, I really like your reflection on this, but let's dig a little bit deeper. What else can we get from this interpretation? And then also through like my advertising courses, like, okay, here's like a strategic plan, but what else can you think of? I like it when my professors kind of challenge me to think in that different way, even though I may have gotten to the right answer, but just thinking of things in another way too. So.
How can we encourage you to talk? Put away the cell phone and talk in class.
Well, there's policies for the phones.
Yeah, but halfway.
But depending on the type of actual structure of the class, create like an interactive type of course where you have people involved instead of just sitting in a chair listening and talking the whole time. I feel like that's the best way. Engagement and experience is the best way to learn anything. So just try and find ways or activities, any type of method to have people not just physically there but mentally there as well.
Yeah, to kind of build on that, we as students are paying $300 or more for this credit hour, and so we're personally invested in the class. And so it's really nice to have that teacher that comes in that's excited and ready to be present with you and has something fun that's visual or it really engages us. Because if I just know, like for a class sometimes when I know she's just going to come in and write on the Elmo and give lecture for 50 minutes, I already know, well, I kind of am wanting to pull towards my phone, that's pulling my attention, and I'll take as many notes as possible, but I'm not engaged and I'm not retaining anything. So really having a teacher that wants to be personal and engaging with you is like the best way to reel us in away from those phones.
And the research on that, if you don't have their interest as a teacher, you cannot teach them because they're not with you.
Research also shows that nobody can multitask.
That's
so
right.
The presence of the phone in and of itself is not,
Yeah.
it takes away the attention and the opportunity for learning.
We're learning so much with all the brain research now, and everybody thinks they can multitask, but it's impossible in your brain to do it.
However, I have had, I've had in a lot of my classes some success kind of embracing the phones because it's pretty much inevitable you're going to have a few students that don't want to be there and learn. It doesn't make any sense, but people come to college and then refuse to put the effort in to get anything out of it. But in a lot of my classes we use platforms like Top Hat, Academy's another one. There's quite a few, and that kind of gives people little breaks. Like they're on their phone, they're not really like sitting there texting, but they still get the satisfaction of, I'm looking at my screen, they can reply really quick and then they put it back down. And I've enjoyed that aspect. Also, if you have breaks in your lecture, it's really hard, no matter who is lecturing, it's extremely difficult to retain attention for a full 50 minutes. So if there's a little break, like, you throw in a joke or, have them like talk to a pair, like in leadership studies, we talk to partners a lot, and that kind of breaks their focus, and then you can re-engage them and they are, fresh and ready to listen.
The research on that, 15 minutes, that's about max for somebody to pay attention. And that's a good professor that's breaking it up a little bit. Aren't y'all thrilled I'm sitting here?
So piggyback on that question of the big one, I have one of the last class. So what really worked for you if you have an experience in the last class? What really helped you for engaged, during the class?
I would say that no matter how big the class is, when a teacher makes an effort to know me individually, and I don't think that size of the class is really a factor, because I've had teachers who I'm one of 150, but they still know my name, they know what's going on in my life, they care about me, and if I know that a teacher cares about me, then I'm bought in. So even if I'm not really interested in the subject matter, but I have to take it, if the teacher knows me and I know the teacher and I feel like they care, then I care, because I want to reciprocate that. So in any way you can, either having it be required that students visit you during your office hours and just sitting with them for 10 minutes and getting to know a little bit about their life. Then the next time you see them in class, you can say, hey, you told me that your dad was looking at getting a new job. How did his interview go? Or something like that. And then that little comment makes them feel special, and it lets them know that you care, and then they're way more inclined to try in your class.
Also, then they're like, oh, my professor knows my name. That means that they know my face. That means they know when I'm not here.
So my first full-time teaching position, and I'm teaching upperclassmen, and their materials have gone from having the nice pictures and the colors to being almost devoid of color. We're using professional textbooks. And the material needs to be read before class, and I'm not getting a real positive response about having students even skim the material before class. So what have some of your instructors done to positively encourage you to be prepared for the topic?
Something that one of my classes is requiring of us this semester is we'll read a section of the book and then we'll have different pairs each week come into the classroom and prepare a facilitation to go over the content that was covered in the reading. So you know that at least a few of those students have to be engaged and come prepared with discussion questions. And then they're learning from their peers instead of just having to revert to the faculty member to facilitate that discussion. So we've had some success with that so far. I mean, we're only in the 4th week of school, but I think that that's been helpful.
I kind of want to go back on the whole engagement and cell phone discussion. So I come from a culture of commanding teachers. When a teacher told you something, there was no going back or saying, I couldn't do it, or can I do something else? And so if a teacher told you to put down the cell phone, there was no way we could have gone back. Well, cell phones didn't exist that time, but you know. So I taught some courses back at Auburn as a TA, but I got some evaluations back just for myself. I was not being evaluated at an official level. So some of my students thought that I was too friendly. So I was kind of trying to adapt to not being too commanding and kind of being friendly. And so in my next class, I tried to become more commanding, and they thought I was too commanding. So I'm trying to, you know, kind of understand that as a student, what do you want your teacher to be like strong and powerful and be like tell you what to do, or to be friendly, and you know, where's the middle ground?
I think balance is always key for things like that. And that's any situation, balance is great. I think just when you have some type of confidence or type of credibility you kind of build, because like the first day you can't just hop in like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I don't even know you. Like, you just got started, you know. And also at the same time, you don't want to have that first day experience where this teacher doesn't know what they're doing. They seem like they're like not engaged. So just kind of establishing credibility throughout, just like saying, hey, this is what it is. Kind of just warm people up to you. I don't know if that's really helpful or not, but just kind of gauge the room, gauge your students, self-awareness of what's going on in the room, pay attention to body language, a lot of those things. Maybe the way you're coming off is too aggressive, maybe not paying attention, you need to step up a little bit more. So just having that awareness of what's going on around you.
I find if my professor's enthusiastic and just happy to be there, then that makes me happy to be there. And I like respect their credibility that they know what they're talking about because they enjoy what they're doing and what they're speaking about. And if you're going to come in and just give us the material and tell us what you know and just go through the motions, then we're not reciprocating. Why do you enjoy what you're teaching? So if you're enthusiastic and show that confidence, your credibility really falls in with it.
I think going along that, there's like a power in telling your personal story about how you got to where you are today and kind of where you were at when you were a student and what made you passionate about the course that you're teaching for the students. And I think that that's another great way to relate with the students and create more of a relationship with them, even if it may be a larger lecture.
And to build off of that, if you're passionate about what you're teaching, that will help alleviate the, oh, it's the 5:30 lecture on Friday, nobody wants to be there. If you are passionate about it and you make lecture exciting, people will come, just because it's a positive experience.
It's not a false sense of, it's just my job. Saying, okay, this teacher really loves what he or she is doing. So like, that positivity is contagious, so spread it.
And also building off of that, I have found that there's I don't want to offend anyone, but there's two types of instructors, right? There are the instructors that want to be here to instruct students, and then there are the instructors that are here as researchers that are also, having classes. And I've definitely responded better to the professors I've had that were here just to be an instructor. So if you are doing research, make sure you're not neglecting your lecture time because that's it's very easy to lose students' interest if you're more interested in your research than you are in their development and their learning.
And a lot of us have research and teaching appointments. So, and I've heard my husband does research and teaching. too much time from his research but then, when he started, and I kind of learned from, he started introducing his research into his teaching, so it became a synergetic activity.
Which is perfect.
Yeah. And like Cedric said, it's a balance, just like everything else. But, yeah.
So I always encourage students to come to see me when they have trouble. Like for example, understanding the material for homework. No one comes, but it's no problem. So.
I think you just have to give them time. Like, I was confused in one of my classes on literally the first day, but I didn't know my teachers so I didn't go in. And then just as time went on, I finally went in, and it was super cool. And I got all the answers I needed, but you just have to give them time to get used to it. Like, it's not, if it's a large class, they don't know you as a person, they just know you as a teacher. It's by you.
Also, a lot of times students are pretty busy. I have what I consider to be a light schedule, and I only have a 30-minute window that lines up with one of my professor's office hours. So taking that into account, maybe if you have the opportunity, meet outside of class, open up the possibility of accepting appointments, maybe through email. Also, openness is really important, because if your students are intimidated by you, which by the way, you're all very intimidating, you're all very smart, and that's very intimidating. So it is occasionally hard to talk to people. And I think if you're, open to the process of communication in lecture, and kind of let people ask questions in lecture, they'll be more open to asking questions one-on-one in office hours.
And I would kind of interject too. So I was a first-generation college student, and our office does a lot of work with first-generation college students. And I think sometimes, like from that perspective, you don't want to be the one person that is doing something that no one else is, right? And so I think kind of like sharing I think oftentimes too, like the culture in academia is very like hidden, right? So either you know what people are doing, or you like see people doing things, or you don't see people doing things, and you don't really know what you need to be doing. It's like very confusing, I think. And so I think speaking to that, like part of the culture of being a college student is utilizing the resources that you have available. And I'm a resource that can be available. Like I care about spending my time with you to help you learn, and kind of just like breaking down that like, no one's doing this, or only the bad students are doing this, and kind of just sharing about what it means to have that time and space available. And I think sometimes that can be really helpful for students, especially if you're first gen or you just don't really understand college yet.
For sure. It's really hard to realize you're wrong. It's really easy to be wrong, right? But it's really hard to accept and kind of realize, no, that's wrong, and ask for help. That's something I had to overcome as a student, was learning how to ask for help and being okay with that. I totally lost where I was going with that. I was going somewhere really important, but I can't remember. It'll come back to me.
I think there's a culture too. It seems like kind of an American culture thing, but I'm sure other places, that if you have an issue, then pick yourself up, dust yourself off, you fix it. It's your responsibility to fix it. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You don't need to ask for help. Asking for help is weakness, that sort of a thing. So I think even if you don't realize it, we're always being told that. So asking for help or coming to office hours may seem like a failure, or may seem like this means I'm not doing good, or they're going to think I'm stupid, or my classmates are going to think it's all very like outside forces speaking in on us and making us feel like we can't go in, or we shouldn't go in, or we don't want to make time to come in. So I think kind of going back to what you said about making students understand that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is ask for help if you don't know what's going on. And it doesn't make you weak or not smart if you ask for help, but it's an important part of the learning process.
Make you smarter.
I have a question kind of for your department.
Sure.
Only because I'm in the design field, Ian in the design field, so for studio, I'm in class upwards of 12 hours a week, and then I teach a seminar on top of that. So I just find in lots of the sort of resources on campuses, there's kind of this blind spot to the creative fields. And I'm just curious if you see any architecture or design students come in do you have resources catered to that environment, or is it still kind of a niche, marginal
Sure.
thing?
I guess what do you mean by resources? Like,
Well, like what you do, I'll hear presentations, and it just simply doesn't apply to studio. It's hard to translate
Yeah.
some of the comments into a studio environment,
Yeah.
where, you know, every student might have an hour of my face-to-face time every week with a lot of contact. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, the first question is just, do you have architecture students come in to see you at the Success Center?
We do. I mean, I don't know the number like
Right.
broken down. And also our resources, so over the last year, our resources have changed a lot and are doing a lot more to try to meet departments where they're at and see what kinds of needs specifically students in certain areas have. Like biology is another one of those that we've worked with pretty closely to try to say, what do your biology students need and when?
Yeah.
And try to meet that where it needs to be. I think for students, like for resources for like an architecture planning design, sometimes it's just like learning how to learn, and if they meet one-on-one with a coach at the time that is available for them, but their schedules are really tight, right? Like it's a very, yeah, it's like a very structured process. I also think your college does a good job of having resources for students and faculty that are available to explain that, and I think that coming from you as a faculty member is probably a lot more impactful too, as a person that's gone through that kind of training and experience, than maybe someone outside of that doesn't know it as well. But I think if there's something that's lacking in support that you would like to see in your area, I know our area would be really willing to discuss that and see how we could make that even stronger. But
And I would even venture to guess that it's almost more from our side, that it's usually a pretty opaque kind of experience of college.
Yeah.
Friends just sort of go into the building and you don't see them, and what we do with all that time is oftentimes just not clear to people.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't mean to say that it's something that y'all missed. I meant blind spot to sound more neutral than it did, but
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious if the students would take advantage of it or not. I don't know.
We have just so many students from all kind of different areas. It's very, I think with coaching, it's like very individualized, right? So it's kind of students that might have, like I know I've worked one-on-one in like a coaching kind of capacity with over the last 2 years, students from your area, and they're usually students that like, I'm very passionate about this, like I know this is what I want, I'm like driven, I'm gonna spend the time in, especially in studio, right, like where I need to be. So I think where, like this, at least in my limited experience with those students, it's been more of like how can you strengthen your approach to learning, and what kind of skills do you want to develop so that you can approach these classes and experiences and get the most out of it that you can. Like with our resources, especially coaching, it's individualized, and it can be one appointment, it could be 3 over a semester. It's kind of where it fits in with students. So that might be a better fit for a resource for your students, just because it can be so, it's not like you have to be somewhere every week at the same time. I don't know if that
Coaching,
helps,
that's the
but yeah, it's usually the
resource
better
that I
fit in terms of like, rather than tutoring, because
Right.
I think you guys offer some of that as well in your area.
I'd like to thank Grant about bringing this up, because we have a different set of lecturing or doing things differently in the studio setup. So I got a couple questions and suggestions regarding to this, because it's sometimes very useful to bring different professions into the studio, because it's sometimes a round table discussion, sometimes a think tank, whatever you want to call it, or brainstorming. Sometimes it's one-on-one. So most of you guys have mentioned different things about us getting to know you better personally and professionally, your capabilities, your skills, everything in between. So the question part of it is, how are you looking into things when it comes to working with different professions other than yours, coming, teaching, sharing, seminar or workshops, those kind of things? And the suggestion part is, this is how I do things. Probably most of my colleagues do the same way too. I see teaching as sharing. I never saw it as teaching. I'm just sharing my experiences, and I learn a lot from you guys. More than you learn from me. Believe me. I'm saying this because I've been doing this almost for 20 plus years. I'm learning a lot. Probably you learn less from me. So spread the word. This is how it's done. I mean, no matter how afraid you are to confront your instructor and ask a question about your thesis or your upcoming project or even a simple homework, we don't think it that way. it's never a sign of being unsmart or being not ready. That's actually more challenging for us. In order to give you the proper answers, we also have to dig down deep about our profession as well. So that's a two-way street. Always keep that in mind. And the question part is, yeah, how do you see a studio environment? How would you like it to be? If you do any studios, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if y'all have even been in a studio.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome if you have time to come into our studios anytime. I teach Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons from 1:30 to 5:30 in Seton Hall. That's the lovely building between Seton and Regnier. So come check it out. Come see it for yourself. Especially engineering might be more interested to what we're doing, because most of the time we have to coordinate with engineers anyhow in our field. So yeah, and back to the question again. How do you see that studio environment, or would you benefit from something like that? Would you like to benefit from something like that?
I think that maybe the biggest benefit would be, the only studio I've ever been in at K-State is a vocal studio in the music department, so different. But I think the important part, and what is universal through all classes, no matter what, is creating a sense of community within the classroom. Because if the students feel a sense of community with each other and the instructor, then raising your hand and asking a question, there's no barrier anymore, because we're all friends, we're all learning together. And that's not an easy thing to do, because you can't force people to like each other and hang out. You can, but it doesn't work. So I think coming up with ways to really let the students get to know one another, and that's, I think, the benefit of a studio-like space, is creating community and making it so that they know other people in the room. They know you, you know them, you know the other people in the room. I think a sense of community is really important.
In connection to that, one big idea I've been instilled since I've been here, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I think building that kind of idea around that is pushing your students to get out of their bubbles, getting out of just, this is my profession, this is my possible career, this is what I want to do. But like, if anything, you learn a lot from taking, for example, different cultures. It's not yours, but you're learning a lot, and you know you might be able to apply it in different ways and just open up your mind to new ideas. It might have you change from being chemical engineers and so on to look at social sciences. So just kind of pushing them to recognize not just your small bubble, maybe explore, find some new information, learn.
Tim, I'd be curious, just for each of you to share one or two things when you think about your best teachers, instructors, faculty members at K-State. What are one or two things that they did that you would say could work in almost any class for any teacher that really mattered for you, for why that was a good class and a good learning experience?
I think going along with what we've been saying is kind of my favorite professors have really shown that they care and that they want to invest their time into my learning experience to help me succeed outside of college, and then they've also taken the effort to get to know me personally as well. So not being afraid of being like, I'm here for you, I care, I appreciate that you're taking the time to learn from me. And I mean, building that sense of community within the classroom too, because that is ideally facilitated by you, the professor, to help get all of the students come together to form that community and to do things together and have share their different experiences and also their shared experiences. So just try to care.
My favorite professor jumps around the room and interacts and goes up the aisles, and definitely group discussions are really good. And sometimes they'll call out on a student and that student's like, no, please don't be mean. But sometimes it's good for that person to come out of their bubble, and then other people are noticing, oh, she did not want to talk when he called her out on it. And just when he does that, it just sucks you in, and you just want to know what he's teaching. And so I just find when he interacts with the students and makes the students interact with each other, you really take a lot from your studio or your whatever you're learning.
My two favorite classes, I've only been here for 5 weeks, but my two favorite classes are actually my lectures. One teacher, she's super energetic, and that's all, we talk to everybody in the class, and then the other teacher is energetic in himself, and he's really passionate about what he learns and teaches, so we just, it's really engaging, and we don't feel bored.
I feel like it's not just getting to know me, but caring about my future, I guess. Some of my favorite professors, public speaking, American Ethnic Studies, and Lead 350 brand. And just because they took the time, I went to them also, it's just a two-way street to kind of develop that relationship. But they're resources that you could take advantage of, not in a negative way, but they're here for you. So going to take the time, and then they give it back. They pick with me, in marching band, Dr. Frank Trace. I look up to him very highly, and he picks back with me all the time. And I don't know, it's just this idea of respecting each other. We just develop that relationship. There's not just a student teacher, but an elder trying to teach someone who's younger. Some life ideals and views, and they connect deeper than just the course. They connect those course ideals to things I'm interested in, things I want to apply in the future. Lead 350, he's always asking, he's the one, I'm a class lead for Lead 212 now. He's the one who pushed me to do that because he saw things that I did in class. So have you ever thought about this? Let's go talk about this, and point me in a certain direction. So actually genuinely caring about me as an individual and trying to push me to better myself throughout many different outlets. I still talk to a lot of professors now. I keep contact with them. I go stop by. If I have their contact information, I will contact them because I know that they don't just care about me in their classroom.
I think that I've kind of already touched on it, but letting them know that you care and building a sense of community within the classroom. And my favorite teachers have not used the excuse of there's a lot of people in my class. I'm teaching 200 kids, so I can't possibly know them all, but they have. It takes extra work, but the payoff is so huge when you go into class and every single student is there every single time because they love being there. That's so worth it in my opinion, to put in the extra work of getting to know everybody. And as a future educator, that's something that's number one priority in my classroom, is to let every student know that they matter, to let every student know that I care about their life, not just while they're in my class, but 10 years from now, if I see something and it makes me think of them, emailing them and being like, hey, how have you been? This reminded me of you. I remember when you did that funny thing, or connecting them with stuff outside of class. So if you notice that a student has loves music, but they're not involved, you can say, have you ever heard of this thing that they're doing in Manhattan? Giving them connections and letting them know that you care about them as a human being and not just as a student. Because I think classrooms are full of people first and students second. And I think a lot of times, especially when you're in a class of 200 people, it's easy to say, these are students and I grade their papers, and there's not a personal connection, but thinking of them as people. And also, how would you like to be treated, I guess? What would engage you? Because you're all people, you're all students. So when you were in class, how would it have made you feel if a teacher really took the time to know you? So, yeah, that's my question.
I'd say my favorite lecturer I've ever been in, and professor I've had, tailored his lectures individually to each class, which took a lot of work because that kind of requires first that your students communicate with you, which in itself is a challenge. But once we got there, every week he'd ask us questions like, how'd you feel about this? He'd try different techniques with us. One class we threw around a ball to kind of popcorn to each other, and then another class we used a top hat kind of platform where we had a little quiz during the class. And every time he tried something new, he'd ask us for feedback, what we liked, what we didn't, and kind of he tailored every lecture to the individual class.
That's another good point. I think if the only feedback that you get from your students is at T-Vals at the end of the semester, that's like your version of a gotcha moment for us, where if someone's like, this whole semester you've been doing this thing that I can't stand, and you're like, well, you didn't tell me that 5 months ago. So asking for feedback throughout the semester will help both parties, I think.
Okay, I'm paying attention to the clock, and I wanted to make sure that we ended with about 10 minutes, so that if you had one-on-one questions for RJ or for any of the students, or to talk with one another, that you could do that. I also know a couple of you have 1:30 classes to teach.
I would have one suggestion, and then I want you to excuse me for my class. The only thing that you need to know, most of your professors, instructors, they see you as their colleagues. You are our colleagues. We don't see you as students, so keep that in mind. I mean, hopefully everyone is like that. So on that bombshell,
Thank you.
see ya.
The other thing I'd invite is that if you have suggestions, speaking of feedback from Brett and Megan, if you have suggestions or things that you know you would like included in future Back at the Institute luncheon, feel free to write that on the note card or just come tell me, because these are really geared towards you all. So thanks for coming. Jana, anything?
What an amazing experience to have time for y'all to talk to us like that. Thank you so much. It's really amazing. And the core mission of any university is teaching and learning. Because if we aren't teaching and you aren't learning, there's no university. So thank you for helping us be better.
Thank you.